Blender has a lot of moving parts, and while the development team tries to keep them moving and well maintained, this is an impossible task, given that the Blender development team is small and is always adding new features into Blender on top of over 1,000 operators, tools and functions that are built into Blender. This is why it's not surprising that hundreds of tools have been around for years without any major updates or new features. It's for this reason that the Blender community has made it their job to replace these outdated tools, add-ons and functions with new and improved ones they made themselves. Cycles is the main render engine for Blender, but it can be slow sometimes. It's for this reason that over 6,000 artists have replaced it with K-Cycles, a custom build of Blender with a highly optimized Cycles render engine and more features for faster rendering. This render engine can produce better renders with less samples than Cycles in less time. K-Cycles also comes with a performance mode for a GPU boost, more optimization and render presets. How the tables have turned. Most times, artists see a feature that lacks in Blender or needs improvement and make an add-on out of it. But not today. The node preview add-on was the first to add image previews above each node, and later we saw the same feature adopted by Blender, so now it comes in built in. How they turn tables. Though this might be the case, I find node preview to be more faster and available for more nodes than the built-in previews. It takes a few steps to import images and textures into Blender. That's why the texture folder add-on replaces all those steps with a single click. Your favorite folders are always easily accessible, and you can search textures easily from your folders without ever leaving Blender. So Fracture has been around in Blender since the beginning, but it has not seen any major updates or improvements in a while. The RBD Lab add-on is the update the Solve Fracture add-on always needed. It introduces presets, is a way to turn fractures into rigid bodies, a better way to control fracturing. It also introduces a way to deform metals, a feature that lacks in Blender entirely. Texture painting is a great way to add detail to your renders, but it's a pain to work with. You have to do a lot of clicking and setup before you can start painting. That's why this Philogix PBR painter is a great alternative. You work with layers and the user interface is intuitive and a familiar way of working if you have used applications like Photoshop. Just like texture painting, motion tracking in Blender is good, but the way it is done leaves a lot to be desired. You have to add tracking points one by one manually and track them one by one. You can track multiple points at once, but the track will go off in just a few frames. Kin Tools Geo-Tracking tool is a great replacement that solves all these problems and is faster, more accurate, and comes with more features. This list is quickly becoming a list of things I hate to do in Blender because of how painfully difficult they are to make. And boy, do I hate baking in Blender. And good luck if you have any metallic parts in your material. It's going to take you some time to get a good bake if you have any metal parts in your material. But good thing, there is a better alternative for baking in Blender, and that's the Bake tool. Bake tool is an add-on for Blender that redesigns the way that Blender baking works with a more coherent and easier workflow. And to save you from the stress, this Bake tool highlights baking PBR maps, including channels not available in the Blender Bake system, such as the metallic and ID maps as its main feature. UV unwrapping saw some improvements in Blender 3.6, but UV Pack Master still packs more features than what you get in the UV tools. It's faster, more efficient, and has more packing options. When it comes to animation and rigging, Blender offers Rigify, a skeleton setup with IK controls for animating characters. The problem is that it doesn't always work depending on the proportions of your character. That's why AutoRig Pro is a better alternative. You can easily help the add-on set up your character by letting it know what the main joints are, and the add-on will do the rest. Every 3D application comes with its simulation system, and for Blender, that is MantaFlow, which is great for a lot of things, but has a steep learning curve, and most of the time, it's hard to know what the simulation will do. And does anyone even know what the planner setting do? Because sometimes it works and other times it doesn't. The alternative, Flip Fluids, is a better option and provides more predictable simulations with a more intuitive user experience. Another alternative is the Solve Fluids add-on, which is a completely different way of looking at fluid simulations. Instead of using a solver like MantaFlow, it uses geometry nodes to create its own fluids. This allows it to be more faster to simulate in real time, and while its results may not be as realistic as MantaFlow or Flip Fluids, it's a great alternative for anyone who wants something quick and not super realistic. Blender comes with its sky texture. It's great, but it's not much for the physics starlight and atmosphere add-on. This add-on comes with clouds, planets, suns, moons, atmosphere, and more things that are not supported by the built-in sky texture. Like most tools in Blender, they are powerful, but they lack an easy and user-friendly way of using them. This is true for the cloth simulation system in Blender. That's why the Simply Cloth Pro add-on takes advantage of the cloth system in Blender and just adds the features it lacks to make it easier to use. More 3D applications come with a library of materials so that you don't have to always start from scratch. Blender could do this, but one reason they don't is because they want to keep Blender small and quick to download. This made more sense in the early 2000s where download speeds were below 128 kbs, but now download speeds can go beyond 20 MBs, and Blender is already a big download, nearly 300 MBs compared to the 10 MBs back in 2010. I think a couple of more MBs to accommodate a library of materials would not hurt, but we can't complain too much as you can easily find one on the market, like this Procedure Shaders library called Sanctus Material Library with over 1000 procedure materials. Many of you might have forgot about the landscape add-on, but it's how we used to create landscapes in Blender. The landscapes had no materials, you didn't get a lot of detail, and the presets were not that many. Today, using an add-on like True Terrain is way faster, produces better quality and detail with materials, water, rocks, plants, and everything in between. While no add-on can truly replace how we model in Blender, HardOps users may fail to model anything in Blender without the HardOps add-on, as it's like replacing a shovel with a spoon to fill a dump truck with sand. HardOps introduces a lot of new features to modeling in Blender that all hard surface modelers truly appreciate. Blender comes with about 6 HDRI images, a far cry from the 361 editable HDRI images you get from the HDRI Maker. They range from 1K to 16K resolution. They have shadow catchers and can be used in Eevee and Cycles. And the built-in Blender ones are only for preview in Eevee Look Dev mode. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more Blender, check out these previous tutorials I made for your viewing. Thank you.